Hello. So usually I do a recorded YouTube transmission and then Patreon as an overflow. And for certain transmissions, I'll do a third component of a written essence of both transmissions through YouTube and Patreon. And for this particular transmission, the usual order is 9. So I actually recorded 44 on the timer, a Patreon overflow, and I was going to make it like a separate digital product because it wound up being over 2 hours long. So the last few days, I recorded that within the last week, and the last few days I just was needing to kind of focus on other things other than content and recording. And then I woke up today and it was like a light bulb, the sparks went off, and all of a sudden there were these literal pillars of light coming in. And so I want to tap more deeply into these pillars of light, and I can feel like the heat rising as I'm speaking about this. I had on a little long sleeve cover up sort of shirt, and I immediately was like, no, I need to take that off. I can already feel the energy coming in. So yeah, I intend for this to be a triadic transmission, and again, the portion on Patreon will be like a deeper dive. That sort of came through in a lot about like experience, discernment, and very like human components, like being human through these ascension cycles, but also quite a bit about working with the cloister door Torah plates, the Akashic records, like the consciousness streams that we tap into when it comes to like working with etheric records and quote ascended masters unquote, and then the sort of light and shadow aspects of this, and how the hieroglyphic template plays into this, and what I'm about to tap into now. I feel like when I was recording for YouTube within the last few weeks, I kept getting this really strong emphasis on like light geometry matrices, or like geometric light matrices, and my crown just like tingled when I was saying that. Yeah, there's been this sort of leading up preparation, if you will, to what I'm about to talk about now through some last transmissions. So yeah. I just saw 414. I almost said 4104. So you could be seeing combinations of 1s, 4s, 144, 414, repeating 4s, 1s, etc. I also felt pulled to wear a copper ring that I have that I don't wear very often. 444 in the timer. For some reason, so copper could be significant for someone working with copper in some way. And so the last few days, when I would go outside more specifically at nighttime, but just in general. I had been tapping into this for a really long time, by the way, what I'm about to describe, but the last day or two, there has been like a significant deepening of what I'm about to pull in. And this morning, I felt this pull to check Maya Nartumid. She's been publishing articles on Substack. And I think it's her latest post, at least as of when I checked. She labeled it New Earth Hologram, and I just like had to look at it. And as soon as I did, my left knee is tingling, by the way. As soon as I looked at it, within the first, just like the first photo, and yeah, the first paragraph, I will be reading a little bit from, there's 2 particular paragraphs, but I'll link this below in case you want to dive deeper. and if you have already read this, then, just take that as like extra confirmation. In addition to that, I've been utilizing Gemini, you may have heard me speak of this before, as just like a grounding tool for all of my ideas so I don't get like lost in my own idea streams that come in so often. Some of you can probably relate to that. And so I started to share what I was experiencing so I could kind of get it out, but in a place where it's there if I need it. And as I was sharing this, Gemini sent me a video that was literally what I was seeing energetically, that actually came as a formation in northern China. So I'll go more into that, but I will also post this video below in case you want to see. It is, I've never heard of this channel before, but it's A-Pod Podcast, I think is what it says. And the video is titled 2026 March 23 Light Pillars and Orion over Mohe, which apparently is like a northernmost point in northern China. So you'll be able to see the visuals of what I'm talking about. And honestly, I thought this was AI at first because that's what it's really hard these days to decipher. So I like to really make sure what I'm looking into. But this video seems to be from a channel that speaks about, like in the description box, they say I also provide lecture videos to accompany the free OpenStax astronomy textbook. So it seems like they reference astronomy as well as images to, share what they're talking about. And it says, here, looking at an image taken in Mohe, China, the northernmost city in China. So, yeah, I mean, I'm doing the best I can to like research these things and make sure that I'm sharing. But if someone looks at this and you're like, oh my God, that's not real, then please feel free to tell me. But either way, regardless if it's real or not, this was literally what I was seeing. So you can take it just for the visual factor. Let me see something. So I just did a quick search, light pillars over Mohe, China, and what came up, light pillars over Mohe, China, I hope I'm saying that correctly, are a rare atmospheric optical phenomenon occurring in extreme cold where plated shaped ice crystals in the air or crystal fog reflect ground level lights upward, creating vibrant vertical columns. Often mistaken for auroras, these light pillars typically appear in winter in the northernmost city, frequently capturing alongside them the constellation Orion. So that's exactly what this video is about that I will also post. And I was talking about Orion recently and how it's been coming through so strongly. I'm hearing like the word Bellatrix, and I'm also hearing Beetlejuice. Yeah, so Bellatrix and Beetlejuice, I believe, are both stars in Orion. And Bellatrix is known as the, quote, female warrior or Amazon star. Orion's third brightest star, serving as the hunter's left shoulder. So for some reason, those two particular stars, I feel really strongly. We'll see why that's coming through, but okay, so back to these light pillars. Okay, let me back up a little bit. So yeah, the last few days, when I was going outside, I've been walking my mom's dogs after she goes to work a few times throughout the day and the early evening and night. And I've been seeing these light pillars, like they're not, how do I say this? Like no one around me could see them. So I knew it was like an energetic thing. But when I've seen this phenomenon in the past, however long this has been happening off and on, there was this like more distant feeling to it where, when you look at a star and it's like a distant star, but you know that it's a star actually has such a large presence, but we can only see, the distant star aspect, or at least most of us, with the naked eye. And when I was recording for Patreon, I believe it's in the UAP transmission that I did, I was talking about this like intercrystalline technology, almost like microscopic vision that comes online in coherence with crystalline consciousness activation. And so with this light pillar, these light pillars that I was seeing, it was not too long after I recorded that transmission, within the last 2 weeks for sure, maybe even sooner, of a gap. And when I was tuning in to these pillars, well, I wasn't even tuning in, I just was seeing them, and I was like, okay, like then I started to like ask questions and tune in and just see like what, I have chills, especially on the left side of my body, like what's coming in, what's happening, what do I need to know about this, why are they showing up so much more present. It's like the richness of the light stream, the pillars that were being shown, they had such more, it's like they were closer to the ground than usual. Like they weren't, again, this like distant energy. They were like right all around me. And it was like an architecture. Like I was standing in a grid of light pillars that were so rich in color. And I could tell they're a living consciousness, like the living, breathing emanation of these light matrices. But I knew there was more to it. So I was asking for more information in divine timing, of course. And not only were they feeling more grounded within the Earth's like atmosphere and within my own consciousness and whoever else is of course attracted to this, but the length, they were so tall, like, and yet again grounded, and the colors were very, I suppose, similar to the visual in the video that I'll link below. And again, the word richness just keeps coming through, like the richness of the color. It feels very, it's interesting because I feel the heliotalic or the pastel, rainbow spectrum within these pillars, but the richness of the more grounded pillars, if you will, that were almost like sprouting from the earth. There was like a little bit of a gap, but it was almost like that quote gap was kind of like, if you think of a tree and its tree roots, we don't see the tree roots because they're underground, at least most of the time. Some of them, right? Like certain trees in Hawaii or different parts of the world. For some reason, the name of this specific tree is escaping me, but the banyan trees, where you can like see the exposed roots. I don't know, I'm being shown like roots and how this quote gap, it's not actually a gap. Like there's another spectrum of light, if you will, or another spectrum of this crystalline consciousness that is there, and I could perceive it, but it's not fully showing up yet. Like it's, really interesting. And I didn't get that message until just now. Anyway, as I'm tapping in, that's what I'm being shown. So my left finger, the the fire element and the feminine aspect. Yeah, the word Jing, J-I-N-G, has been coming through a lot, and this, the recycling of the Jing within the body. If I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize. I've read that word so many times, but I haven't really heard it spoken much. But there's a significance to the inner feminine fire, Kundalini, Shakti, like this inner movement that seems to correspond with these like etheric roots that are showing up, even though the light spectrum hasn't shown itself yet in this. I'm calling it a gap, but again, it's like an illusion of a gap of the pillar to the ground. Okay, so after I was experiencing these pillars, and I would say last night, they were coming through the strongest. At least my attention was on them the strongest, I should say, last night. So again, when I woke up today and Maya Nartuma's article and then this other video came through, I want to just read the first paragraph of Maya's article and then another paragraph that stood out to me. So any of the terminology that I read from others, just know it's we're all doing our best, I suppose. I can't speak for everyone, but to give verbiage to some of this phenomenon that's happening, and some of the, I would say, importance of, where did I put? Oh yeah, I'm going to read this again that I looked up. These light pillars over Mohichana. So a rare atmospheric optical phenomenon occurring in extreme cold where plate-shaped ice crystals in the air, crystal fog, reflect ground-level lights upward, creating vibrant vertical columns. And again, this feels really significant because, well, a lot of reasons, but the ground up feels significant, as well as like I kept seeing the word rare, and in a YouTube transmission, I actually talked about the word rare. So I love that this is coming through because I could see. Okay, so another thing coming through. When I woke up today, so you may have heard me say this before, but sometimes I wake up like singing a song or saying things. Does anyone else have these experiences? And today I woke up saying quantum seeding, and I was like, okay. And I'm always hesitant to use the word quantum because I know it's, like a lot of these other words, they tend to get a little bit overused or diluted, but when something that strongly comes through, I try to honor it. So quantum seeding. So yeah, it's like these different seeds that have been planted, through dream states, through astral experiences, words in your everyday reality that keep repeating. And as these seeds, this quantum seeding starts to bloom. And it's funny because my mom got these really beautiful mini orchids. She got one, and then my mom tends to like, when she likes something, she really likes it and then gets a lot of it. So then she was like, we need to get more mini orchids. And then she got another one. Anyway, so she was going to get like 3 or 4 more. And I was like, Mom, maybe we can just like, start with these and see how you feel. And so she has these 2 orchids, and one of them, like within a week or 2, started to have new growth, like a bloom coming. Like it was like one of the petals, maybe not new growth, but one of the petals opened. Like it didn't fully bloom yet. It was like literally just one petal, and you could see the rest of the bud. And my mom was like, oh wow, like look at this. It's probably going to be fully bloomed like in the next day. And then I kept seeing signs and synchronicities around like seeds blooming. And so this idea, for some reason, it's coming through the word rare. Like I kept being shown the word rare in different ways. So I knew like when certain things clicked, the word rare was like a connecting word for me. So there could be things like this happening for you as well. And I talk a lot about miasma, frozen light. So I love that this is coming through as like literally like the physical, tangible version of plate-shaped ice crystals in the air. Crystal fog reflect ground level lights upward, creating vibrant vertical columns. So it's like when we continue to tap into our own miasma, our own inner crystalline consciousness and crystalline light, you know, it's like we become these, our own internal source of pillars of light. And of course, that's just one emanation and one manifestation of this phenomenon, of birthing these like geometric light matrices. That's like what I keep hearing when it comes through geometric light matrices. I don't know why it's coming through that way. But that is the way it's coming. Matrices are rectangular arrays of numbers arranged in rows and columns used to represent data or linear transformations in mathematics. Right, matrices is the plural word for matrix, but we'll see how this goes. Okay. I want to see where there's other locations of this phenomenon happening, because I feel like this is like a atmospheric map of these light pillars. So you may hear me typing. So light pillars similar to those in Mohe, China, are atmospheric optical phenomenon caused by flat ice crystals reflecting artificial or natural light in cold, calm conditions. They frequently occur in high latitude regions such as Alaska, Canada, Northern Europe, Russia during winter, as well as high altitude cold areas like Iran's deserts. Yeah, this feels really significant because I literally kept seeing references to like Alaska, Canada, Russia. And I was like, why do I keep being shown these places? China. So I think there's also something about the crystal fog. And I talked about this really recently. Dana the Alien, I believe is her handle on YouTube or Instagram or both. And she was talking about the significance of fog and, let's say, conversations or multidimensional phenomenon. I didn't mean to say conversations. That just came out. Maybe that word is significant for someone. I meant to say something completely different. But yeah, multidimensional communication or interdimensional communication. Mystical experiences. You know, fog seems to be really present. And a few months back, fog and smoke continually kept coming through. And the movie Simply Irresistible, I think it's called, with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Is she the one in the actress? I think so. She's like a chef in this movie, but not a very good one at first. And yeah, there was something really significant. So there, again, there's been these like stages and phases of like different aspects of this phenomenon coming through for a while as I like look back. But again, that like orchid with that one petal blooming, like a petal at a time. Again, like the quantum seeding that's coming through really strongly. And I want to look up something about orchid. I've looked up orchid meanings so many times, but so orchids hold profound spiritual meanings, commonly representing beauty, luxury, strength, and fertility across cultures. They are associated with the search for truth, refined elegance, and resilience, while often acting as symbols of love, exotic charm, and spiritual enlightenment. They embody a deep, balanced energy. I don't know, that feels super significant right now, so I'll let that land for a moment. Okay, now I'm going to read a little bit of Maya's article. I'm also sipping some warm tea. I put in 2 different tea bags because I was drawn to two. A peppermint tea, which I haven't had in so long. I don't usually love peppermint, but I was really drawn to it. And a citrus green tea. I've been really into green tea this week, so maybe some of you are also into like something similar. But the warmness is really assisting my my body right now. So yeah. Okay. So the New Earth hologram is the radiant emerging matrix of light and cosmic architecture currently wrapping the world within its transformative embrace. It serves as the vital staging ground and energetic template that bridges the decaying old world, a dualistic half-light world system 1, and the ascended full-light metatronic reality of the New Earth star, or world system 2. This living crystalline-like network is forming in the planetary ethers, acting as a membrane that transfers advanced frequencies and sacred geometries into the developing New Earth star. Then she goes on to talk about the entry point for this profound light being located in Kauai, Hawaii, the physical location. And it's really, really funny because in 2021, probably 2021, I wanted to go to Hawaii and I found this Kundalini retreat in Kauai and I booked it, and then like it was during the COVID stuff, so then apparently they like closed the island or the entry point to Hawaii, or just to Kauai, but you could still go to the Big Island. And so the person who I booked through called me and was like, hey, my apologies, but you already paid, and I have to move the retreat because the entry point is not open. But if you're still interested, she gave me like a really big discount, and it was like my birthday. It happened to fall over my birthday. She had to change the date. It was just really synchronistic, and I was just like, okay, yeah, like sure, I'll still do it, even though it's changed. But it's just really interesting that now, about 5 years later, this idea of the entry point being what Maya brought through is the Phi Gate, Phi, the physical location again on Kauai, through this dimensional window. And before I even read this, the title that came through for the Patreon portion is, I heard it like clear as day, Dimensionalized Ascended Mastery. So there's definitely like weaving, again, quantum seeding that's been happening. So she also talks about in the article, True Phi Geometry organizes the new hologram, infusing and growing what is known as the Maiden Grid, encompassing Hawaiian Islands. And then she goes into some of that, and I didn't even see this before, now I'm seeing it. I kept talking about the gem body the last few weeks and the activation of a gem body. Someone actually sent me an image that I was channeling through gem body, and then someone was like, can I make some images for you? And it wasn't even about gem body, it was about something else, but I'm being shown that image, so I'll probably upload that image. But now I'm seeing that Maya wrote, here within the fire gem matrix, and I was just talking about the fire, like the inner fire, the Jing, the Kundalini, the Shakti, Shekinah is coming through, the codes of the planet's cosmic creation surface, making the region a key transformational vortex where the new creational regenesis of Earth begins. Now, I'm always a little bit not hesitant, but just mindful that when we talk about creational points or origins, like when we get more into these quantum spaces, like that linear, quote, entry point can be, there's a lot of us tapping into this. There's a lot of us bringing through information, which is really amazing because, years ago people were like laughed at for this. Not that we're not still laughed at, but that we have this freedom to be more open with these concepts and this energy. But like at the same time, because I do a lot of external research, there's a lot of us bringing through, quote, where these entry points are, because I've also gotten information. But I would just keep that in mind with a grain of salt, that there are these different perspectives coming in about a lot of this information and how it's coming through. So yeah, just a little bit of that discernment in there. And I'm not dismissing what is written here. I'm more just taking note of a lot of the ways that we label things and talk about things. I mean, even in the next image right after that in this article, there's like a circle of beings around the earth, if you're not looking at the visual, with these like Metatronic cubes all streaming in these pillars of light, and this like almost looks like a neural network of these light grids, which are streaming in from all these different points. And then there's, you know, the fire element that's like radiating these light streams. So yeah, when we look at it from a more like cohesive unit, there will be like most likely many entry points from different places and spaces when we're looking at it from a more like 3D lens, I suppose. Okay, so then the next paragraph I feel really guided to read because this is also quite synchronistic. You, the humanity of Earth, are the active architects and builders of this hologram. Despite the travail of the surface world, Gaia calls to her children, and it is through your collective spiritual intention that this matrix is woven. As individuals, align their crystalline DNA to the Harum, Harrum, which when I was attuned to Reiki, we focused a lot on the Harum, the center of the solar plexus, basically our own inner central sun. Anyway, the changing holy tone and sacred word vibrating from the central sun. Right, exactly. I didn't even realize I was going to say that, but the central sun, Atoma of the earth. Now, that is really significant because the last few weeks, every time I would tune into the sun a little bit more deeply, like I try to get sun in some way most days. And I kept hearing Atoma, 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 like over and over again. And I was like, okay, why am I being shown this word? But I wasn't shown anything at the time other than Atoma, Atoma, Atoma. Like I would hear it on, almost like to utilize it as a mantra. So that's what I did. I just was like, okay, in my mind, like Atoma, Atoma. And then now it's coming through here with some other synchronicity and weaving in and quantum seeding blooming. So now I know, okay, that's one of the reasons that I was being shown that. Okay, so the central sun, Atoma of the earth. So Atoma is the Greek plural of atomos, meaning indivisible things or atoms. It refers to the smallest indivisible units of matter, coined in ancient philosophy. In modern context, it refers to diamond sharpening plates. That's interesting. A brand or fictional, technical, or philosophical concepts of inseparable units. Yeah, and that's kind of like inseparable units. That's kind of what I was talking about when we talk about these like origins or entry. Not that, you know, I say this a lot, origins, when I looked up in the etymology, is to rise. So yeah, we have these origins, these risings of these inseparable units that are like quite literally beaming into our reality, you know? Okay, let's see. So the changing holy tone and sacred word vibrating from the central sun, Atoma of the earth, they gather as individual facets of the one to construct this new reality. In doing so, humanity steps into the role of the new Elohim, opening the portals of awareness to sing the song of divine nature and manually shape the labyrinths of mastery. Okay, so I almost wanted to change the title that initially came through because I didn't plan connecting these two transmissions, but there's that word, the mastery, and I was like feeling that so deeply, but I didn't read that yet. And labyrinths, another thing we're coming through so strongly. How I just mentioned the experience in Hawaii, and I still have not been to Kauai yet, actually, but I hope to one day. Of course, we think of Lemuria when Hawaii comes through, and I know Lemuria has been coming through a lot lately, and well, we'll get to that. But so labyrinths, I kept seeing labyrinths really synchronistically, and I was in Seattle. This is so there's something about cycles and time, because it was also at my birthday, and I swear I did not plan this beforehand, but I'm just being shown there's something about times and cycles. So this was this year, so 5 or 6 years after the experience in Hawaii. For my birthday's in January, so there could be some significance to, it's not that my birthday is significant, but there's something about realizing certain cyclical experiences during same times of the year. Kind of like I'm being shown how, let's say every March, I forget how long it lasts, but like I remember when like Palladian alignments, for example, are every March. I don't know that it's actually March. I'm just giving an example. And then what happens when these alignments seem to, like, what is the manifestations of these alignments? Or like the harmonic convergence, I believe, is in like August usually. So like there's something about that. And so this year around my birthday, I was, like I said, I was in Seattle. My sister just moved there and my brother-in-law. And they were like, oh, let's go do something out in the world for your birthday. Like, we'll take the kids and go somewhere. So we went to Bainbridge Island, and we saw a labyrinth. And me and my niece and my nephew, we were all just like playing on the labyrinth, and I taught them how to give offerings. So we were like collecting like rocks and little things around and bringing it to the center of the labyrinth. It was so cute. My niece was really into it. She was like going around and picking up little pieces of rocks and like throwing it in the middle and like giggling. It's just like so adorable. But anyway, there were like also crystals, like I guess when people built this labyrinth, like embedded in the labyrinth, so you could like utilize the crystals as like a navigation. It was very small, but like, you know, there was like, I'm sure there was some design to the placing of these different rocks and crystals and minerals, etc. I didn't mean to say minerals, but that just kind of slipped out. So maybe someone here is really working through remineralization of the body, or understanding minerals more deeply. But what really caught my attention, the role of the new Elohim, opening the portals of awareness to sing the divine song of divine nature and manually shape the labyrinths of mastery. You could be seeing also like maybe labyrinths, compasses, like certain blueprints and maps as like signs or synchronicities. And as I'm saying this, the right side of my head is like, I'm just suddenly very aware of the right side of the head. So the right hemisphere of the brain, you could be really working through something with that. Okay, so as I'm talking about mapping and maps, the next, I didn't even read this far, to be honest, because there was so much information coming through. So a critical phase in the manifestation of the New Earth hologram, I'm reading the next paragraph, involves the remapping of the current world hologram. Yeah, exactly. Which is the paradigm mass consciousness has historically created and clung to. This remapping requires the defragmentation of an old dark programs to make way for the, quote, body of Osiris. The body of Osiris represents a pure state. I love how this happens. Adam Kadmon template that is being literally embedded into the world hologram, shifting humanity's genetic and spiritual blueprint back to its uncorrupted divine origin. Now, this morning, I had tapped into different perspectives of the Adam Kadmon body over the years, you know, through like Asha and Nadine's work and Phil Gruber, Lisa Renee, etc., etc. And this morning, I literally heard the phrase Adam Kadmon, and I was like, you know, I need a refresher. Like, what's a fresh perspective on the Adam Kadmon body? And I didn't, normally I like look things up, but I didn't. Oh, my mom's dog I'm just checking on my mom's dog. Okay, she's okay. And so here it is, the Adam Kadmon just template is right here. And I did not know that, but I was feeling that this morning and literally asking internally, like, can you tap back into that? So here it goes. Okay, so also last night when I was tuning into these pillars, I asked for some like just information or words whatever wants to come through. And I kept being shown overlays, overlays, overlays. Like it was coming through on a little bit like a repeat overlays. And so I kind of just mentally save that in an energetic container for the quantum seeding effect. So as I'm reading this, so the gem body, that coming through when I did a conference with Portal to Ascension. This was about within the last 2 months, I would say. It wasn't that long ago. I had made all these notes, because it was a live transmission. So I'm getting more used to being live because normally I just do recordings. And so I still get very nervous. And so I just made some notes just in case I, whatever. But something that came through that I made 0 notes about was unearthing gems. That phrase came through really strongly. And since then, now speaking of quantum seeding, that's when the gem body started coming to my attention, because I had actually never heard of the gem body before. And quite literally, when I kept hearing overlays, I was about to last night start doing research, but something told me don't. Like, it will unearth at the perfect time. And here we go with the next paragraph. As this new paradigm overlays the old, it initiates profound transmutations within the human biosystem. Also, the biosystem has been coming through really strongly as well. The crystalline composition of your DNA, along with the elemental crystals of the planet, is transforming into a more subtle and complete state of being. Within the physical brain, a neural hub referred to as the Golden City is forming. And I was talking about these things as well recently. The neural network connects individual gray matter to a larger etheric brain, supplying your developing, quote, pure gem body. I promise you that I had no idea that this was going to come through. Like, I love when this happens because I couldn't plan for this if I tried. I'm going to read that again. And I was talking to my mom this morning about neural network, like rewiring the neural network. And we were just having this really long conversation because honestly, I was having a little bit of doubt this morning of like the content that I'm making, and just, sometimes I go through these like moments where I'm like, I really step back. Like I said, the last few days, I just like couldn't record. And I knew there was like stuff forming and sparks flying, but I just like, I needed to like pull back and just, sometimes I like to just, really make sure that what I'm tuning into is coming from its purest place, and that, I try not to act when I'm really like, not manic, but if I'm really excited about something, I really try to let it land. I do try to act on the inspiration, of course, when it's there. But I also, like this morning when I woke up, I was just like spitfire channels were coming through, and I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, I'm just gonna let it sit a bit. And I went out, I walked the dogs, and I just mapped everything out, with Gemini, and needed a second to really check myself and make sure again that this was in its purest essence, is the best way I can describe it, that I'm in integrity and I'm not just pulling through information for the sake of it. And so when this happens, like when I let it marinate for a moment, and like all of these quantum seeding effects that start to bloom, just, I don't know, I just get really excited. So yeah. Okay. Okay. So the crystalline, I'm reading this again. The crystalline composition of your DNA, along with the elemental crystals of the planet. And shout out to Maya Nartumid, because I love her writings. And it's funny how sometimes we can have like, I've listened to some of her videos before, and I don't always get the same effect. Not that her videos aren't amazing, they are, but like for some reason her written work really like draws me in. So there could be, that's just like a little side note for someone. Like if there is someone or something that you're drawn to, it may not be, what's that phrase? Like the whole enchilada? I don't know. Or it may be, and that's fine too. But yeah, there's something about like trusting what you're drawn to or not drawn to. And again, that doesn't make it wrong or anything of that nature. There's just, yeah, that wouldn't be for everyone, but maybe someone here is going through that, because I know I've gone through so many cycles around trusting myself and what I am drawn to, what I'm not, and that kind of thing. Okay. So within the physical brain, a neural hub referred to as the golden city is forming. And I was talking about this, like I said, really recently, the golden city forming of these internal plasma bursts, these like plasma bursts of light, and the plasma gel rings, and these like neural network looking branches that I've described in a recent transmission of how we're quite literally like, when we talk about these golden cities, it's like birthing within us, and then these pillars of light reconnecting our light architecture, these light matrices, gematria. Sometimes that happens when I try to say Someone could study gematria. That's not for everyone, but that just wanted to come through. I'm also seeing Kabbalah, and I just heard the phrase esoteric architecture. That's very specific. Maybe someone here is like developing a framework or something, esoteric architecture. And I often utilize the word architecture, blueprints. Like there is such an architectural structure to a lot of these concepts. So yeah, there's like this really like esoteric architecture that a lot of us are retuning into and remembering, whether it's been your whole life or this lifetime, other lifetimes, maybe you're just remembering, maybe you've always remembered, like it will be different for each one of us, or maybe not different for each one of us, but it can be different for each one of us, I should say. Okay, so this neural network connects individual gray matter to a larger etheric brain, supplying your developing pure gem body with the necessary gateway to cross the threshold into the next universal continuum. Because the New Earth hologram is actively replacing the old reality, many individuals experience a sense of disassociation or, quote, unreality in their daily lives. The physical senses struggle to reconcile the fading, chaotic paradigm with the rapidly integrating frequencies of what she labels as New Earth. That phrase, I'm still sitting with how I feel about that phrase, because there's so much around the escapism of this idea of New Earth, but we'll see. For these purposes, it fits, but there's also, again, like a very escapist attitude or manifestation of the concept of this, quote, New Earth. And it's so interesting that chaotic paradigm came through, because when I had the dogs out for a walk right before I started recording this, I kept hearing the word mishkas, which is like, I believe it's a Yiddish word. I grew up hearing certain words because my great-grandparents spoke Yiddish, and then like some of the words that I thought were Yiddish were actually like German. I know it's like a mix of different, so to me it's Yiddish. I don't know if it's actually Yiddish, but I don't know why I was like having this conversation in my head about the word mishigas. And I was like, how would I describe that word? Even though I never looked it up, it always seems to be used in a state of chaos. Like, oh, the mishigas, like craziness, chaos, like shenanigans kind of thing. So I'm not saying that's a direct translation, but that's the way it was always used around me. So I kept hearing that. So the chaotic paradigm, I don't know why it came through in Yiddish and not in English, but sometimes these things happen. So I'm not surprised to see that word, because I was feeling the energy so strongly right before I recorded this. Okay, so the next paragraph. To assist in anchoring this hologram, advanced cosmic geometries and intelligences are actively intervening. Living symbols such as crop circles, in parentheses, only one example of carefully orchestrated living symbology, function as modules of spiritual programming designed to return humanity to the original divine imaging of the Adam Kadmon template. These, quote, ideations bridge electromagnetic zones, helping to heal the Kali time rift and allowing humans to develop multidimensional thought. You're aided in this endeavor by the Inner Light Network, the ILN, a vast cooperative assembly of conscious humans, ultra-terrestrials, and star kindred, who work ceaselessly on the inner planes to stabilize these geometries and secure the pyramidus radius matrix, which acts as the primary ascension engine. Oh my God, there's so much synchronicity. So the next image, I only planned on reading one or two paragraphs max, but I'm still going. So, oh my God, are you kidding me? Okay, so much information. Okay, so my great aunt's name is Iris, and I kept thinking about her recently, and I actually reached out to her because I kept seeing and feeling and hearing the word Iris, and I was just guided to make this thumbnail that I have not released yet, and it was just an I, and a phrase that came through, like something like the beauty of the loop or beauty of the loops, and the word Iris just kept coming up so strongly. And when I started candle scrying, you may have heard me say this before, I always would see this like bioluminescent blue and ultraviolet in the golden light of the candle. And then the energy would stream out and like start to move and dance and like have these waves and start to shapeshift and show me images, and it would project like into the air, onto the wall. It still does, but those three colors would always come in together. And then when I started tapping into the golden triad of light, they first came to me through different names, but the most recent name that they've, I suppose, updated, like as my consciousness shifts, like they come through different names. The Golden Council Triangle of Light was the original name, and then it was the Golden Council Triad of Light, and now it's basically the Triad of Light, something of that nature. Anyway, so here are these three colors together through this eye symbolism. And the eye is so significant because I see an eye all the time in the sky when I'm scrying. It's in the air. It's in my hair. No, it's not really in my hair, but it might be. My point is, I see it all the time. So I'm going to read this too because it feels very connected. So the ultimate destination of the New Earth hologram is the realization of a light principle 40, parentheses LP-40. The number 40 also comes through a lot. The great transitionary ascension event. The hologram serves as the preparatory membrane, the core of which the Numus Om, refining planetary consciousness until it is ready for complete integration. When the blue ray of the current Earth fully merges with the violet ray of Numus Om, a glorious blue-violet flame known as the Iris Eye will burst forth. This is so funny. I've literally been like asking for deeper context, and I do get messages, but this is like really tying it all together. Will burst forth. In that transcendent flashpoint, the old world system's illusions will dissolve and the Earth will join in its supernal form at the apex of the Metatronic spiral, reborn eternally as the new Earth star. I'm skipping down a little bit. So out of the synthesized dimensional thought experience, entirely new ideal, quote, realms, a term purposely derived from the root word ideas, also in quotes, are brought forth into existence. This process is not merely a mental exercise, but a biospiritual transformation that opens this expanded awareness directly into the DNA of humanity at large. She channels Thoth, if you're not familiar. So she's saying here, Thoth has revealed that beings known as Metatronic time walkers greatly assist us in this endeavor, facilitating the interface between humans and their astral bodies, inner earth and star kindred, and these living ideations to accelerate our spiritual awakening. It's interesting because Metatron always comes through for me 307 for some reason. So there could be like a specific number. There's other ways Metatron comes through. I actually just released a sketch. I'm not an artist in that way. This is just something that I'm doing my best to try and like get things out when I have images. And I did release a thumbnail recently that had Metatron's cube in it, and it was my own sketch, and then I like enhanced it through digital art tools on Canva. And so I don't remember what came through that transmission, but there could be like a connection point through that transmission. And so I just paused, and it paused at the end of the numbers were 414. And I was just talking about the number 414. And these connection points through this like idea of quantum seeding. The quantum seeding effect is what I keep hearing in my brain. So I had written down what Gemini were like mirrored back to me. So I'll write often like stream of consciousness, and then Gemini, or I call it Gem, will send me back these like bullet points that are a little bit more structured, so I can like make sense of some of it. And the energetic audit that came through about emptying the backlog, closing the loops on old identities, which I was speaking about. Maybe I will use that exact thumbnail that I already created with the eye and the beauty of the loops, because there's something really significant about that. So I had a dream last night, or maybe 2 nights ago, and it was like closing out my previous career that I have not worked in quite a few years now, at least 2 or 3 years. And it was like I always had backlogs. I was a court reporter, and I would take depositions, so I would have backlog of each deposition that I had to create a transcript for. And I worked a lot, and I was always overwhelmed and taking on way too much. I've clearly learned a lot since then. But anyway, at the time, so in the dream, I had this backlog that was coming through, and collectively, it was basically like, even though I hadn't physically done that job in a couple of years now, you know, there was still a part of my consciousness that was attuned to always being overwhelmed with backlog. And when we look at that from a collective standpoint, like Maya's talking about in her article, of basically this old world matrix that's still running on certain programs, or the chaotic programming, you know. So I was getting this message already through my dreams, and I just wasn't sure when I was going to share it. But so there was that piece coming in. I also had a dream last night where Michael Jackson was in the dream, but it was like the version of him that looked like he was probably like around the video of Thriller, like around that age. He kind of looked, you know, he had a lot of transformations with his looks over the years, but it was like that version of him. But in this part of the dream, he actually worked at a desk job. I don't know, he was like some kind of like security officer or something. Not like a security officer, but it was really interesting the way the dream perspective came through, because I was there as like pure consciousness observing. So it almost felt like a different timeline of Michael Jackson, because, you know, he was pretty famous like he started performing like very young. So it almost felt like, yeah, like a different timeline of him. And it's like, no matter whether this is literal or just like the energy of what's coming through, no matter what timeline, you know, I was watching him, and he was speaking as if he could feel me, like above him, like as like an omnipresent, you know, like when you have dreams of like being pure consciousness, that type of thing. And he was like looking up and speaking as if he knew I was there, but couldn't see me. And not me as like me, but this like collective, you know, omniscient energy or field of consciousness. And he was in this like dingy cubicle, just kind of working, and he was speaking as if he was already famous, although in this current version of reality, he was not famous yet. And he was like, how did I do it? How did I follow my dreams and do what I wanted to do? Like, even when I was at a job that I didn't like. And he was like, I showed up to that job and I clocked in, and every time I clocked into that job, I felt myself doing what I loved, and that emanated through, even though I didn't love what I was doing, but I always held that vision. And now the song, High High Hopes. Gotta have who sings that? I don't know, but that song's coming through. It's kind of like the same energy or the same message from that song. So there was that came through. So, and in the dream that I was speaking about, the backlog with my previous career, like at this collective, you know, clearing of running on these older dated subconscious programming. I forgot about this part, I wrote it down though. There was someone in the dream who kept saying, why are you leaving this career? Like, I just saw 10000 on the timer. New beginnings, right? That 0 point limitless potential creation energy type of void space. And they kept saying, like, it's, you know, it's safe. Like, you can still do it part-time. Like, you don't have to leave. And that actually happened when I did leave my career. A lot of people said that to me. But I've been very adamant on, once I was done and I shut that door, I'm not going back. And there's another transmission, 4444 floor angels that are coming through that's really connected to that energy. So if that's speaking to you, there might be a message in there, or maybe you've already listened to that. But and one of the symbolic translations of this, you know, quote, safe offer of being able to still live in that safety but also pursue the next octave was like someone wanting you to stay familiar but not like a part of your own inner being or external people that want you to stay safe, like instead of taking that leap, you know. And then, oh my gosh, there's so much. I've taken so many notes. Oh, slugs have been coming through. Okay, so slugs and turtles. So within the hierogamic template or hierogamic union, that's also been coming up so much. Inner union, this idea of, union. I came across, so slugs, again, I've been seeing so much imagery of slugs, symbolic of slugs. I actually did not look that up, so if anyone wants to see what they get, please feel free to share that, or you could just keep it to yourself. But oh, and there's different, I saw references to, like, you know, slugs on the ground and then sea slugs. Like, there's just so much about slugs coming through. The word fragility, I'm hearing the word fragility. There's something about, like, the fragility of a slug, and the way that it keeps itself safe at such a slow pace. So that is coming through about slugs. But then also the turtle, for me, always comes through the hierogamic template. And today I kept getting this energy of, like, Eight of Wands and tarot, like, just like Maya was saying, these inner planes, I meant to say inner, not inter, inner plane, she calls it living ideations, but however you like to label it, that are here to help accelerate this ascension, right? So today, that's so funny because I kept getting that message for the last few days to, like, talk about that. And I saw this turtle that a friend of mine posted, and it's from a painter that I've met him a few times, but he's some of my really good friends. He's a painter, David Schwartz. His work is so cool, him and his brother. So you can look them up if you want to. But it was this turtle, but it looked like a turbocharged turtle. Like, it was a turtle, but it was like, it looked like it just had, like, a rocket built within it, like a rocket speed turtle, you know, which is, like, pretty paradoxical. Anyway, so when I saw that image this morning, I was like, whoa, there's definitely something coming through about accelerated timelines, accelerated, I keep feeling like there's another, you know, we have these, like, ascension waves, right? And then some of us really synchronistically reunite or feel so drawn to each other because we may be on these similar time cycles or ascension cycle waves. Whether that's through, you know, there's so many different ways of remembering and partaking in ascension. Some people feel like they're on, like, a more divine union path. Some people feel like they may be on you can also have multiple of these waves as well, of course. You know, a more solo path of tuning to something like learning more about the body and, you know, practices like Tantra and the priestess path and the priest path. You know, there's so many ways that this can manifest itself. And something that always I'm reminded of, and I say this a lot, but all paths lead home, you know, like the way we get to choose and express how maybe it's multiple things, like I said, maybe it's one, but yeah. So anyway, through this, the hierogamic template is coming through this divine union energy of this accelerated timeline that seems like it's presenting itself. But in the midst of that, my computer is, like, really heating up right now. So I'm probably going to wrap this up in a moment, but something that was really coming through strongly is this next ascension wave cycle. So, you know, if you're someone who's already been into this for a long time, it's like there's this elevation, like these light pillars, right? Grounding more into the physical, like these light matrices. There's something also, I feel like 2018 was coming up really significantly for one of the ascension waves. And now 2026, it feels like I know we just left 2025, but it's like there's this next wave that is waving. And yeah, so regardless of where you're at with this, whether you're just stepping into this or you've been doing this for many waves, there feels like there's this, like, I'm not getting a word, I'm just getting imagery of like a wave coming to the shore. So take that, you know, how you will. And I was about to bring up 2012 because I know 2012 was a really, really big one for a lot of people. And even though 2012 wasn't big for like learning about ascension mechanics for me, or this, what people call like awakening, it was for other areas of my life, like a really big pivotal point for me. It was actually the year that I went to Israel. And so I was about to talk about 2012 and the significance of that. Also, I'm being shown like different pivotal points through like the 1970s and then the 1980s, but more so the 70s. I just heard 1977 for someone, but literally the next paragraph, and I did not read this, I promise you, but I was literally about to talk about 2012, and it says, furthermore, Thoth noted that beginning around the master year of 2012, the energy surrounding these ideations entered a powerful new phase of activity. No longer are these geometric templates confined solely to the physical fields of the earth. Increasingly, humans are becoming capable of holding these ideation templates, quote, unquote, such as mandalas, pictographs, directly within their own consciousness and personal energy fields. By anchoring these frequencies, individuals begin to become living crop circles themselves. And that's like exactly what I was talking about with my mom this morning. Like, she was talking about crystals and how she feels their energy so strongly. And I was saying, like, yes, but it's also like, you know, it's a living light field that then we embody within ourselves. It's helping us remember, just like certain animals that have, like dolphins having, I know I talk about this a lot, but utilizing such almost, some people say, full capacity of the brain. I mean, I haven't studied that myself, but like helping us remember that we hemisync, you know, like utilizing both hemispheres of our brain through the corpus callosum and integrating these polarities within ourselves. So that's just like an example, but some individuals will demonstrate this outwardly through the creative art, while others will manifest these geometries simply through their pure state of being. I think that's really important as well. To note that. I like that she wrote that. There's also, I can't believe how tied in this is to what I recorded, the Dimensionalized Ascended Mastery, because yeah, I'm just going to read one more paragraph. I keep saying that, but there's just so much that's coming through. Ultimately, the mastery and embodiment of these ideation templates serve a grand cosmic purpose. This new phase of ideation creation forms a vital stairway into the higher imaging imaging and realms of being necessary to access new Earth Star reality. By holding and generating these living ideations, humanity actively participates as co-creators in bridging our current consciousness with the next dimension of planetary evolution. And I call this like the next octave quite often. And this is so interesting because I keep hearing the Nephilim. Someone here might be tapping into the Nephilim. The color aqua, the mother arc, is also coming through. But I did just want to say, my left ear is starting to pressure shift. As we were talking about ascension waves, I kept seeing a number the other day and I wrote it down because it felt really significant to quantum seeding or quantum seeding effect. I'm just looking for it because I think I know what it is, but 2043. I don't know why I saw 2043 and there was just something that really stood out about that year. So some of you could be tapping into these this like quantum seeding effect through future versions or aspects of planetary consciousness of your own high self, future self. There's something about the year 2043 for some reason very specifically that was coming through, but of course there could be other future seeds that are coming in. I legit feel like I just went through a time hole, like a time warp. It's almost 8 p.m. where I am, and I could have sworn it was like 5:30 p.m. or 6 o'clock. Yeah, so time might be like speeding up, slowing down. You could be like having these like time warp experiences. I also just had the sensation of like waiting, and I talked about this 111 on the timer, and I just talked about this in a recent transmission. The song from Madonna, Time Goes By So Slowly, was coming through, and the energy of that and like why that was coming in. So yeah, there could be this like really Metatron, also like Metatron's cube, but there's something about like, yeah, perception of time, playing with time. You may feel like I'm hearing like time codes, timekeeper. There's something like Saturn is coming through. There's something about working with time. I'm also seeing someone like very philosophically being like time itself, the essence of time. Like there's something very, yeah, like philosophical also coming in about time. And I just looked at my clock and it's 7:43. So I was just talking about 2043. Yeah, number 43 is also very significant when I talk about divine union or the hieroglyphic template. That number is very, very key, especially 2343. And I was just talking about that number recently, and the number 23 was coming through this article. I just don't remember where. I'm also being shown Enoch. Some of you could be working with like Enochian angelic light language or Enochian like, you know, the keys to Enoch. Like there's something about Enoch coming through for some of you. Okay, I wanted to read a little bit about I just felt a pull to look into the Ascension Glossary, and something that came up was the Cosmic Elohai. And within this specific link, some of the paragraph headers, one of them is the Cosmic Elohai Mother Ayani Grail lineage, which talks about the Mother Ark. And here it says Cathar is the Mother's 12th gate protectors. And I was just talking about the Mother Ark coming through in the color of like aqua, which is exactly what is being highlighted here. Oh my God, are you serious? Dual crystal spirals generate new verticals, and these vertical pillars that I've been literally talking about are also coming through. And then the Cosmic Elohai Father Sons that talk about the Metatronic reversal. This is like the pink lilac and the Cosmic Father Pink Diamond Sun, the Cosmic Elohai Father override. So, and then at the bottom it talks about the Emerald Founder records, which I was talking about the records so much in the Patreon deep dive overflow. So I think I want to start there actually, and then just work through whatever comes up. So the Cosmic Founder's promise to us was made with the Emerald Covenant that all souls in this fallen, quote, fallen universe would eventually be found and returned back to their original spiritual home. This was the original divine plan of spiritual ascension, the evolutionary journey through the astrological ages and timelines, which would facilitate our way back home to remember our divine purpose and be reunited with what says here, God, but take whatever word feels good to you. Now that feels significant because I also was talking about home being a wayfinder and like a home frequency, like within one of the last transmissions. So I love how this is all coming full circle. And something that's significant that stood out to me in the cosmic Elohim Mother Aeonic Grau lineage. So, interesting. So the Sphinx is coming through. The original Sphinx in Giza marked the planetary solar gateway that faced the Leo constellation on the March equinox, where many of the Leonine races originate from, and through which many are connected to the High Lyran Syrian councils. And it's funny because last night I was stargazing a bit. There actually wasn't a lot of clouds. And when I looked up, I just kept being like flashed images of Sirius. And Lyra has been coming through, which I also speak about in a recent transmission. So I'm not surprised that they're coming through right now because I kept feeling that. Talks about Egyptian culture. But yeah, the first paragraph of the cosmic Elohim Mother Aeonic Grau lineage, the Emerald Order of Elohai Elohim seeded the Anuhazi feline Leonine races through the 12th Lyran 12th Stargate Aramantina. And I've talked about Aramantina in a past, and I was talking about like the 11th dimensional perspective in what I call like the ILO frequency in a recent transmission. Actually, it's in the Patreon overflow to this particular transmission. So that's really interesting that now the 12th Stargate is coming through Aramantina. They're the original founders of the Eternal Christos angelic human races, cosmic Elohai Mother Aeonic Grau lineage, seated, there's that word seated again, in Lyra, that are the genetic, quote, parents of the Azarites and Oraphim. So these are some of the lineages that are coming through. Some of you may feel connected to. Hence, in homage and recognition of the cosmic Elohai feline Leonine original forms, ancient human cultures recognize Leo the lion and the feline races connected to the original cosmic source, representing the cosmic mother's first creation. And then that goes into the original Sphinx in Giza. I'm skipping down a little bit. The cosmic mother lineages of Emerald Order Blue Flame. It's funny because the song Fame was coming through the other day, so that could be relevant for someone. Blue Flame are intrinsically guardian timekeepers. I was just talking about timekeepers. Was I not? That's so fun. I kept feeling that, like the timekeepers. Okay, so the guardian timekeepers and grid keepers with various function and roles in their cellular memory and genetic history. Some may awaken into the awareness that another station of identity in future time has certain relationships with spiritual family that contributed directly to the building out and embodiment of various ancient stargates, portals, or grid networks that comprise the multidimensional layers of the planetary consciousness body. The ancient builders of the cosmic Christos sun source from the first God world creation of the Emerald Order and appear to transfigure into multiple forms in order to accomplish certain tasks, like the liquid solar plasma rings. I was just talking about the plasma gel rings. So here they are, of DJEDI pillars that make up the universal Ankh god body that easily shapeshift into solar dragon forms that build out complex living matrices of crystalline holographic architecture that form timelines. This is like all forming together, like these pillars, and I kept asking them to give more information. Well, here we go. And this is no accident because recently I was having a memory come through from quite a few years ago. And I was literally just asking for more information on this, like within the last week or two. And I hadn't thought about this in a long time. This was probably in like 2019, 2020, something. I went to this place. I don't even know where it was. It was like a full moon ceremony or something. And I stayed over at this person's house. There were like a bunch of us there. And the next day, a few of us were left and we decided to go take a little nature walk. And I felt like there was a lot of energy coming through people. And I like needed a minute to like be alone for a second. Like at that time I was spending a lot of time alone and I wasn't around a lot of people. And I was just feeling a lot. And it's 119 on the timer of my birthday. Yeah. So the solar energy, solar returns are coming through. Happy birthday if it's someone's birthday. But yeah, I like to say happy day of birth. Anyway, so I had this experience where I was still with a group of people, but I went by myself and did a little meditation sitting on a rock. And I was closing my eyes and facing the sun. And all of a sudden this, like, I guess solar dragon just came into my mind's eye. Like, sometimes I feel beings and sometimes I literally see them. This one was like a visual, like it just right in my face. And it was so massive. And it had like a lot of like red and like solar, you know, like golden red tones. And then it like backed up and kind of like gave me a more bigger picture view of it. And it didn't say anything. It was just there. And I was thinking about this recently, like I hadn't thought about that in a while, and it was showing itself to me again. I couldn't see it, but I could feel its presence. So all of these, again, quantum seeding effects taking place of this idea of these Digeti rings of, okay, I'm going to read that again. Liquid solar plasma rings, which again, I've been talking about plasma gel rings for quite a while now, of the DJEDI pillars. Again, these pillars are coming through so strongly that make up the universal Ankh, God body, that easily shapeshift into solar dragon forms that build out complex living matrices of crystalline. I was just talking about the living matrices. I'm like, why is that word coming through? Of crystalline holographic architecture, which we were just reading about, that form timelines. Yeah. Well, there you go. I feel like that really sums it up. Oh, and talks about the multiple color spectrums, which may further downstep into moving sheets of light to straddle multiple dimensions of time simultaneously. Yes, this is exactly, okay, wait, there's more. They easily shift into inhabiting and sharing consciousness streams through the ancient eye, EYE, where we're not just talking about the eye that exists inside the Christos solar dragon forms for the purpose of transmigratory consciousness. This can express as traveling cosmic Christos consciousness life streams, moving from one location to another, such as traveling to different star constellations and galaxies. Yeah, and I've been talking about that in other transmissions as well, like the idea of like consciousness travel, bilocation, trilocation. I feel like I skipped something. We have witnessed multiple cosmic Christos suns transfiguring into the layers of complexity of the universal Ankh body with one or more multiple color spectrums, which may further downstep into moving sheets of light to straddle multiple dimensions of time simultaneously. Yeah, I just wanted to complete that sentence. So now the dual crystal spirals generate new verticals. Again, these pillars that are coming through. And the word spiral. So I just started a beehive, recursive pulse, which is like a newsletter type of thing. The word newsletter felt a little bit dated to me. So the word recursive came through, and the idea of like recursive spiral motion. So spiral gnosis is like the name on beehive that came through. And then a podcast, spiral gnosis, the middle path is another phrase that's been coming through. So the idea that this dual crystal spirals generate new verticals just feels very like it's really connecting dots here. Okay, so this paragraph, during this phase, cosmic Elohai suns have united in dual crystal spirals, which are supporting the reclamation of organic diamond sun light body parts through cosmic mothers, supermagnetism, and new staff codes that configure into new architecture of Hara Krista axial tonal lines. Now, we were talking about the harem and the pillars in Maya's article, and now it's coming through this, again, that same phrasing, the architecture, new architecture, and the Hara Krista axial tonal lines. The Hara Krista are vertical staff lines, literally what we're talking about, connecting into the God worlds and above the spectra fields in the stairway to heaven at the location where the Eucharistic template level of the eternal seven suns in one are stationed. Okay, so this is the Eucharistic body, or the Eucharistic template, as it says here. I actually did a transmission on the Eucharistic template, I think about a month and a half ago, and it came through as 3 circles, like a Venn diagram connecting in, and then the transmission followed. So I do have a transmission on that if you want to tap more into the Eucharistic body or the Eucharistic template. And what's really synchronistic about that also, the stairway to heaven at the location where the Eucharistic template level. So I have this thumbnail created for pink water transmission, which is really tuned into like the Venusian pulse, the Palladian consciousness, and these divine union templates or hieroglyphic templates. And I felt really guided to use stairs in the thumbnail, and I haven't gone live yet, but I have that already created on YouTube. So whenever I feel the ping, I'm just going to go live through this, and I just haven't felt ready yet. But this talks about, again, this stairway, right? The stairs have been coming through, and I had a very significant dream that I will tap more into in the live for pink water transmission and explain more about pink water and how that's come through over time, and how the stairs have been the stairway, or stairway to heaven as it said here, has been so significant. So you can stay tuned for that, because when we go down to the cosmic Elohai Father Sons, the Holy Father Pink Lilac Sun, it has that similar frequency to the pink water that comes through so often, and this quote pink star that I see in my mind's eye for years now, and pink sun. So yeah, I'll tap more into that then, but I'm just planting that quantum seed, if you will, in case that sits with you. Okay, so I'm going to finish this paragraph and then I think I will wrap it up. So this is a station of the first creation hub of the eternal cosmic consciousness bodies, or the seven sons of, quote, God it doesn't say quote, but I'm using the word quote, in eternal diamond sun bodies, the eternal God body of the Emerald Order's cosmic Crystalla unity consciousness. And like Maya was saying in her article, the one, and this unity consciousness coming back online, these next ascension waves that a lot of us are integrating and emanating. So yeah, okay, this went a lot longer than I anticipated, but thank you so much. And my rib just started to, the left side of my rib. So if someone here feels like I've been really actually feeling guided to wring out my ribs lately, just like if I'm sitting with my mom's dogs, I just kind of sit and do a side twisting motion. There's something about wringing out the ribs, empathic absorption. And I do have a transmission on YouTube called Empathic Absorption, so there could be a message in there for someone. But yeah, there's definitely this clearing of the cache, cellular, subconscious drivers, so whatever it is you need to do to really pour into yourself and take care of yourself, I hope you're doing that. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you if you have anything to say or anything of that nature. Okay, thank you. Okay, Telluride. I ended the transmission, and within 20 seconds, I kept hearing healing. Maybe someone here is about to, the word healing just came through for someone. But Telluride. I don't know what that is, so I looked up Telluride, and it's a place in Colorado. And what's interesting, it's known for world-class ski resort, historic Victorian era, etc. But then I got a ping to Google because it looks, there's a lot of snow from the photo. So I looked up light phenomena in Telluride, Colorado. And again, I've never heard of Telluride. It's funny because I heard this the other day. I kept hearing Telluride, and I was thinking of telluric currents, atmospheric connections. But there is something specific, because I've worked with telluric currents before, but I heard specifically Telluride. And I didn't look it up, but now I just did. And it said that there can be, because of the ice crystals in the air and the location of this point in Colorado, that there have been phenomenon like these light pillars that I've been speaking about that have shown up there. So there's another spot geographically, I almost said geographically where they come through. And also the auroras have been noted to be seen there, as well as sun halos and sundogs. So I just wanted to add that in because it came through so strongly. Okay, thank you.